The carbon credit market moved $1 billion in 2021 and could reach $50 billion in the next decade. With an eye on this market, a Brazilian multinational has developed a groundbreaking methodology internationally validated to measure sequestered carbon based on satellite data. To talk about this advancement, I welcome here in our studios the founder of the company, Lucio Lopes. Hi, Lucio, welcome. It's great to have you here with us. It's a pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank God everything's in order. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
The pleasure is ours. Lucio, can you explain to us how this method works, the satellite data analysis?
Sure. Yes, this methodology was developed entirely, based on satellite data. We use the open databases from space agencies, right? These include the American Space Agency, NASA, ESA, the European Space Agency, and also other space agencies like the German, Italian, and Indian ones, right? So these satellite data are generated by satellites that use electromagnetic radiation sensors. And these electromagnetic radiation sensors capture all the return, right, of sunlight from the electromagnetic radiation spectrum, and they also extrapolate from infrared to ultraviolet. So these satellites, they operate, or let's say in more common terms, they orbit every 4 days, every 16 days, mapping all terrestrial vegetation and bringing all these wave data to the database. And through this database, we use this, let's say, this information about the waves from the return of the radiation that was recorded in these databases. And then we developed a methodology to be able to know how to use this this information, and manage to measure the carbon sequestration of the vegetation.
Lucio, today many compensation methods are questioned, right? Like greenwashing, for example. How does Greenline's satellite technology ensure transparency and credibility?
Yes, that's indeed our primary concern. When we conducted our detailed study in 2018 and 2019, examining the traditional carbon standards prevalent in the market, we had already clearly foreseen that there would inevitably be greenwashing problems in the future. This is primarily because the traditional methodologies typically utilize fieldwork, often involving sampling through comprehensive forest inventories. And these forest inventories, they are meticulously done on site. And after these inventories are done, there's no way to go back to that region to do the verification again. So since they don't work with satellites, it creates some blind spots when it comes to verification. And when we use satellites, there's no way to cheat or commit any kind of fraud in the analysis, especially since spatial data is open to the public and can also be checked, right? And with that, we can use satellites to define the perimeter of the area, and we'll have access to all the satellite data that passes over that area. So it's something completely verifiable, open, and totally transparent for anyone interested in checking.
In a year and a half, right, Lucio, it seems that Greenline has already generated more than 150 million carbon credits. How does this result translate for investors?
Okay. Yeah, our advantage also comes from the methodology, because we use satellite databases going back to 2014, when these satellites started generating this information. So we have a big difference compared to the market, which is that we can go back up to 11 years now and recover those so-called lost carbon credits, in quotes, that weren't accounted for. So we are able to go back in time using this data based on scientific and mathematical principles, and with that, completely verifiable. And with this retroactive approach, in terms of time, you can recover up to 11 years of carbon credits, which greatly enhances the project's potential for investors.
The sector, could appreciate or increase in value up to 15 times by 2030. What are the main opportunities, Lucio, for the company's expansion in this global race?
Well, specifically, our company is already being sought after by several countries, right? We are already working with 3 countries in Central America, 5 countries in South America. We are working with China, with the United Arab Emirates, and even countries in the Caribbean and also the Middle East are reaching out to us, okay? And we are already in very advanced meetings to be able to generate carbon credits for the future, right? Because the carbon credit market is necessary, because it is the currency that keeps the forest standing. We need carbon credits to keep the forest standing. And the problem with the global climate has awakened in all countries this need to preserve nature, or rather, to keep the forests alive and standing, because they are what maintain the planet's ecological balance.
And the European Union has already indicated, right, that it will accept Brazilian credits in its 2040 targets. How could this change affect Greenline's positioning abroad?
Yes, not only Europe, but China has also opened up more space within its regulated market to be able to use carbon credits from the voluntary market. We voluntarily produce them, and now they have voluntarily opened up space to buy. And with that, the voluntary market is now expanding precisely because of the climate issue. And the regulated market, especially here, taking the opportunity to talk about the SBCE market, which is a very important market that's being organized by the Brazilian government, right? It will even open up a much larger space to transform voluntary credits into credits accepted by the Brazilian emissions compensation system in the regulated Brazilian market. So this has also greatly boosted the issue of the voluntary market in Brazil and national projects.
Lucio, many experts already advocate for carbon credits to be treated as a tradable asset, negotiable just like a commodity, right? Is Brazil prepared, for example, to be a leader in this new market if it were to emerge?
Brazil has all the potential to be a leader, right? So there's no way. Brazil, which is home to the largest forests on the planet, right? And the best preserved ones, let's talk about that. Despite deforestation issues, Brazil is still the largest holder of forests, like the Amazon rainforest and the Brazilian Cerrado. When you add them all together, today they are considered the largest forest in the world. So today we have all the raw material needed to supply the market in terms of nature-based carbon credits. This is a major advantage for Brazil.
Lucio Lopez, founder of Greenline, I really want to thank you for your participation here on Real Time. Have a great Thursday, okay? A big hug, and the door is always open whenever you want to come and have this conversation about such an important sector nowadays, which is carbon credits. Thank you, okay?
It's us at Greenline who should be thanking you. Our whole team is very honored to be here participating with you.
The honor is always ours. Thank you.